Get me the armorer on John Wick. Get me the armorer from John Wick films, please. This is JP Alexander for the Rabid Dogs Unleashed, and today I'm going to be talking about Alec Baldwin and the movie Rust, the movie he was working on, and all the drama that's going with that. What happened was Alec Baldwin was working on a movie called Rust for, I think, Netflix. They just keep churning out content. Just keep churning out content. Doesn't have to be good. Most of it isn't good. How many times I wasted in my life just this past year and a half going on Netflix, watching 10 minutes of something and shutting off and just saying, "Just this is shit. I can't watch this. I can't finish watching this." That's what I guess Rust was going to be. Cheap production, just get anybody can working on it. Who cares? I mean, that's what's he gotten to this point, you know. A lot of it, he's not a big name guy anymore. He went from being a up and coming big actor back in the late '80s to being a big actor in the early '90s to mid '90s, and then somewhere along the line he kind of I don't know, and then suddenly he came back as he's hanging around the Rockefeller Center studios where he did SNL and what is it, 30 Rock. It's kind of funny how people are like, oh, he does multiple shows. They're all taped in the same place, the same building. He just goes to that building every day. He lives in New York City. He probably just walked a couple blocks away and went to work there and did Trump impersonations and played that character on 30 Rock. But that's what he does. That's what he's become. That's what he's fallen to. Him and his wife go to those cocktail parties with all the liberals, and that's what they are. That's fine. I'm not here to talk about his politics. I talk about Rust, and so he's working on Rust, and he shot somebody. He shot a woman and killed her. She was a cinematographer. He shot her. The bullet went right through her, and it hit the director and injured him. He was in the hospital, but he's okay now. Yes. How much drama is going on with? First of all, let me say, how long is it between Alec Baldwin's in the news again? Like, it just stops one news story with Alec Baldwin, and how long is it before another one will come out? It doesn't seem like it's that long. Why does his life seem to be so much drama? Maybe he puts it on himself? Maybe. His run-ins with the paparazzi obviously is his own fault. I've seen a lot of the tapes, I have to say, of his problems with the paparazzi, and they are assholes. They're fucking assholes, I have to say. But he's not being cool either. I saw him grab a woman's arm and push her. That's even doing it to a man isn't cool. Doing it to a woman definitely isn't cool, especially nowadays. That's not cool. I've seen him start fights, knock cameras down. I can understand him getting upset. I can. They're following him and his family. I understand that. But here's a good thing. Why don't you get out of New York City? Your whole life is in Manhattan. They know where you live. It's almost like you enjoy that a little bit. Why don't you go somewhere, move somewhere away from the middle of the paparazzi? It seems like you live for that. You live for that attention. I'm just saying that, if you really wanted to stay away from that, move to Wyoming or some shit. I mean, I'm sure that Harrison Ford, when he lives in Wyoming, no one fucks with him. He goes to bars, probably has a few beers, goes out with his wife to dinner, and people are probably like, hey, Harrison, how you doing? That's probably what goes on there. And that's probably what, Al Baldwin can do if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to. I think he secretly loves the attention. Anyway, going back to Rust. Yes, he shot and killed a woman. And there's this thing called armorer. I never knew what an armorer was. It's somebody handling the gun on a movie set, okay? This armorer is 24 years old. Her father's an armorer. I guess her brother's an armorer. I don't know. She comes from a long line of armorers. It seems like something you'd have to really learn. You're not born with that gene of being an armorer. I don't know how good she was. Obviously not that good because this happened. it's pretty messed up, and people are starting to point fingers at everybody else except themselves. Nobody on this whole set, especially Alec Baldwin, has come up and say, I take responsibility. I should have been. I should have did this. I should have did that. I didn't do this. No, everybody's throwing everybody on the bus. My responsibility to do this. I don't have to do this. It was this person's responsibility to do this. I didn't have to do this. I didn't know. I'm not at fault. I don't feel any guilt. Alec Baldwin. And then, okay, after it happened, there's all this, people, talking heads coming out, like me now, saying, oh, I think he did, all this other shit. And then suddenly, he just recently had an interview with George Stephanopoulos. Don't think for a second this wasn't planned. Don't think for a second his friends, who he goes to cocktail parties with, the liberal New York press, the, CNN press, whatever. Everybody didn't get together and say, okay, who's the best person to interview Alec Baldwin, and they tried him with a scenario with this one, with that one, and suddenly George Stephanopoulos it just felt right. It just that's who we're gonna get. Okay, get George Stephanopoulos. We're gonna ask you these questions. It was all staged. The whole thing was staged. I don't believe for a second that it was just they picked. Get George Stephanopoulos to interview him, and we're gonna take every single. We're just gonna ask him the hardball questions right there. I don't think so, and he quoted on cue. That's what I believe, because there are a lot of people involved in this, who are going to get a lot of money if Alec Baldwin keeps working. And there's a lot of people who are going to lose a lot of money if he stops working. So, believe me, that's going to go a long way, that money. Money buys a lot of shit. That's why a lot of people now are coming up and saying, well, I don't think Alec was responsible for this, because you give somebody money and you say, hey, did you see what happened? Okay, how about you say this. Here's a bunch of money. We're talking, Alec Baldwin's going to make us he's making us a lot of money, a lot of moolah. There's hundreds of millions of dollars involved here. Throwing somebody $100,000 is not a big deal to basically lie. Oh, well, lie. Yeah, the whole thing is a lie. Yeah, if you can get away with it, is it really a lie? If you can get away with it, is it really a lie? It's a lie, but you can't prove you're lying. That's the thing I learned dealing with lawyers. If they can't prove you're lying, it's not a lie. Yes, it's a lie, but if they can't prove it, and also they can't prove what you don't know. So you can say, I don't know that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how the bullet got in that gun. I don't know. Maybe you do know, but they can't prove you do know. So that wouldn't be a lie, right? It is, but they can't, really. In the court of law, it's not. In the world record, in the historical documents, they're not going to find this out. So actually, no. It's not a lie, I guess, right? If you can get away with it, it's not a lie. Okay, so he's on George Stephanopoulos, and we've all seen the interview. And it was basically him saying, no, I didn't pull. I would never point the gun at somebody and pull the trigger. So you had a gun down by you. I don't understand. You were doing a cross shot, which I guess is, I don't know enough about guns to really say what happened. So basically, you're holding a gun here, and it killed a cinematographer there. How did that happen? Okay, first of all, the gun shouldn't have had a live ammo in it in the first place, okay? Second of all, you shouldn't have been pointing the gun at somebody. He didn't pull the trigger. How did it go off then? It's just all gone. I can almost believe that, I guess, but you're just holding it here and it goes off, or you just, how did it, there was some way that it was pointing at her. You had it in your hand, even if you didn't fire it. You did, at one split second, it was pointed at her. The split second, it went off and it shot her. That's basically what happened. I mean, I'm not speaking out of turn here, I don't think. So no matter what you did, it was pointed at her. Now, I'm not saying he should go to jail for this. It was an accident. He didn't mean to do it. Right? Alec Baldwin has had many run-ins with paparazzi. He's had anger management issues. I think he's been to some kind of treatment center for anger management. Is it really that weird, that crazy of me to think maybe he's on a set and saying, I'm fucking sick and tired of your shit. Just picked up the gun and pointed it. thinking maybe it's not going to go off. Probably not going to go off. But I just did that, and then she's like, oh, oh. And he's like, hey, the next time it's going to be fucking loaded unless you fucking leave me the fuck alone. Can you imagine? I can imagine that very easily. I can imagine Alec Baldwin picking up a gun and pointing at somebody and shooting. I can easily imagine that. I can't imagine him not pointing a gun at somebody and shooting. As a matter of fact. It's hard for me to think of Alec Baldwin holding a gun down here and it just hits somebody, somewhere on the set, a cinematographer who wasn't even in the movie. Okay. I don't know. I'm not saying he should go to jail. I'm not saying that. But what you have here is basically just nobody manning up, nobody taking responsibility, a bunch of fucking scumbags pointing a finger at everybody else, throwing everybody else under the bus. That's what it seems to me. And it seems that's, I don't know. I mean, I like to think, but maybe if I get that big, I'll become a scumbag too. I don't know, but I like to think I'd be like, I got to take some responsibility for this. This is what really happened, and I'm not going to draw other people. I was the one who's holding the gun. If it comes down to me, I'm the last line of defense between, her and a bullet going right through her, So I got to take some responsibility for this. I'm the producer on the film also. I should have, And when I was talking about earlier about the armor on John Wick, there's over 300 people on John Wick who probably die in the 3 John Wick films, and there's a 4th one being, I think, planned on being made right now. So in the 3 movies, there's probably about 300 people who died. Probably 250 of them died from gunshots. Probably close to 200, probably 175 to 200 people died of headshots. How many headshots were in? How many bullets went through people's head? Not one person got killed. Not one person got hurt. Maybe some scratches. But what a fucking armor this guy must be. A gal. It could have been. I'm not saying. I don't know who it is. But they must be the best in the biz because the person working on Rust was far from that. It's just how many gunshots were there in that movie that went okay before that one killed somebody. I mean, just thinking about John Wick and the number of headshots and interview that person. Where's that person saying, this doesn't seem copacetic? This seems a little messed up to me. I don't know. I don't know why that happened. It's just somebody saying, that shouldn't have happened. Somebody said they were firing the gun, on cans, and because they were in New Mexico and the desert, and it reminded them of the OK Corral, Tombstone, and they're out there firing guns, and I guess they wanted to be cool and firing the cans, and then they unloaded the gun and put blanks in it. I don't think that should have been the same gun used in the movie. I don't think that gun used to shoot cans should have been used in the movie. I don't think you should have had ammunition anywhere on the movie set. Because keep your going to shoot cans off the movie set. Keep that your days off, and keep that with guns and ammunition that are not on the movie set. That's what I would say. Keep them in your hotel room or something. I don't know, but it just seems kind of, I don't know, irresponsible to be firing guns at cans and then unloading the guns and putting blanks in there to film fake killing somebody. Because it's not fake now, right? And if you believe Alec Baldwin is crying on the air, that's great. I don't. I believe it's called damage control, because he's got to keep making bad movies for Netflix, and they're going to pay him. And he's also one of them. He's not going to do jail time. He's friends with the Clintons. He's friends with, a lot of people at these limousine liberals and their cocktail parties. He's friends with all them. He's not doing time. He's not going to jail. That ain't going to happen. He's going to, he's going to say, I'm really sorry. And this is what's going to happen, I think. They're going to finish Rust. They're going to get a great armorer to finish it. And they're going to say, we right the wrong. The wrong was this armorer. We're going to get a new armorer. This film is when, we got to see this film. This film is where changes were made. And the film's going to go down in history as the film that changed laws and made safety and number one priority, and then they're going to give 2% of the gross to the lady's husband and her kid, and they're going to do a foundation for her. But basically, they're going to reap a lot of money. They're going to reap a lot of money. They're going to reap a lot of money off of a dead woman's body. That's how Hollywood is. I'm sorry to tell you, they don't care. The money is there. It's going to come out eventually. Not now. They're going to shelf it for now, but it's going to come out one day because there's money to be made there. They're not going to let it sit down on a shelf forever. They're going to say, this is a multi-$100 million. This is probably the biggest Netflix movie we can ever release on Netflix. This is big. Or somebody else is going to come and say, hey, I'll pay you for that movie. You can't not let that movie finish. That movie is going to make a lot of money because a lot of people are going to see it because they want to see the movie that, Alec Baldwin killed somebody on. Sick bunch of voyeurs we have in America. Look at the Crow. They wanted to see Brandon Lee die. They wanted to see the scene that Brandon Lee got shot. They wanted to see the movie where Brandon Lee was killed, Bruce Lee's son, on the Crow. They want to see that. Twilight Zone. They want to see Vic Morrow and the two kids who were killed in that film when the helicopter blade. And I've seen that scene. The helicopter blade came down, and they finished the movie and they released it. So what's to say this isn't going to be released? This is going to be released. This is going to be released, and but I think deep down inside, Alec probably loves all the free publicity he's got now. Him and his fake Espanol wife, Hilaria, which is also now that's fun. But Hilaria didn't do anything really. I mean, she's not gonna have to. I mean, her excuse is pretty pathetic. That I was raised with I'm bilingual. How many people are bilingual and they don't get the languages mixed up? Especially since your first language is English, and Spanish is a distant second. I don't. I understand why you can't say, "Hey, I lied." You say, you misunderstood me. Misunderstood you. I don't know. You're walking around with a Spanish accent, and you said you came to New York City, NYU, from Mallorca, Spain. And something? You might have, because you graduated high school in Massachusetts at 18, and you started college in NYU at 19. So that year may have been spent in Spain. I guess that's where your Spanish comes from. Spending birth to 18 in Massachusetts, maybe going for summers, maybe a month here and there, maybe a week to Spain. Okay, fine. Then at 18, maybe going to Spain with your parents, maybe hanging out there for summer, maybe a little longer. I don't know. Does anybody have? You can probably get the government, which I work for. I could probably. I can't do it, but somebody could get the reports of her coming into and out of the country. Visas are stamped, so we could find that. How much time did she spend in Spain as a kid? Then she went to NYU. When she graduated at NYU in the early 2000s, 2004, something like that, I don't know. She graduated at NYU. She opened a yoga studio in New York City, where NYU is, not Spain, NYU, New York City. And then she opened that and she lived in Manhattan, NYC, excuse me. And then she met Alec Baldwin in NYC. And she married Alec Baldwin in NYC. And she lives with Alec Baldwin in NYC. So where the fuck is Spain coming in, this whole thing? How much time has she had to go to Spain? And Alec Baldwin doesn't look like he spent a lot of time in Spain. And she's only 37 years old. So how much time has she spent in Spain? And they did a background, and someone says that she had blonde hair and no Spanish accent, and she's Irish, German, French, Canadian, Slovak. None of those are Spanish, and on top of that, none of those are Latin. None of those are anything remotely Latin, like Italian or something. No, you know, none of it is that part of the way. It's actually the pasty white section of Europe. Uh, she's enthralled. She loves the Spanish culture. Great. I love the. What do I love? I've lived around the world. Can I say I'm part of anything else? I wouldn't. Uh, I don't know, but my point is, this family is just filled with drama. I mean, geez, and they have 5 kids now. They have 5 kids. Shit. I mean, these kids are going to get acting. We're going to be stuck with the Baldwins for another fucking 40, 50 years. We're going to be stuck with the Baldwins for, probably long after I'm dead. We're going to still hear about the Baldwins, they're all going to go in acting or something because they don't have to get real jobs. Why do they have to work like me and you? Um, Anyway, I hope you don't think I don't like Al Baldwin. I love Al Baldwin's acting. I think he's a great actor. I can name films here all day long that I love of his. Don't get me wrong. I think, and Al Baldwin too. He's a long arm guy like me. He's a big mouth. He's a fucking douche, which I am too a lot of times. Which a lot of friends that I grew up with are. I understand Al Baldwin tremendously. Like I understand Donald Trump. Al Gore's not much different than Donald Trump. He thinks he is, but he's not. That's why he plays him so perfectly. But I know Alec Baldwin and how he gets angry and gets upset and gets mad, and maybe gets mad enough to pick up a pistol and point it at somebody and fire. But that's not for me to decide. So anyway, get the armor from John Wick to finish Rust, because whoever this armor is, I'm gonna have to say you're a god. You are a god, because how could you have all those headshots that look so realistic and nobody actually got their head blown off? It's just amazing. It's amazing. Maybe you could train the armorer from if she stays out of jail. But the way people are drawn under the bus, I don't know. Anyway, with that said, that's all I have to say about that. JP Alexander for Rabid Dogs Unleashed. Until next time, ciao.